You guys already know what time it is. It's Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time with your favorite host, Stephanie's Godchild. And of course, it is another exclusive interview, another exclusive special guest and topic discussion. Welcome, guys, to Real Life Topics Podcast, bigsradio.com audience, and SIZZXXM.com audience as well. Of course, we have a special guest. Michael Castillero is in the building. Welcome, Mr. Michael.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time.
Yes, and so Michael, most people might not know who is Michael, but of course you guys already know that I have to make you aware who Michael Castillero is. He is a naturalized citizen, entrepreneur, business owner, senior broker, father, husband. I'm sure he's a son, maybe even a nephew, brother. Michael Castillero built a life working hard, pursuing the American dream and putting family first. Of course, I wanted to shout out Michael Castellero's wife, Nikki, his dog, Hudson, his daughter, and his son, Chase and Reese. Please welcome Real Life Topics Podcast and Biggs Radio audience, Michael Castillero.
Thank you.
Michael, that was my definition of who Michael Castillero is. In your own definition, could you please tell the audience who is Michael Castillero?
Religious man as well, you left out.
Okay.
Man of God, I try to be as much as I can as. I think you nailed it right on the head. I mean, I was an entrepreneur, somebody that always wanted to strive to build the American dream, right? That's what my family brought me here when I was young and had the opportunity to build and grow and I was able to build a very successful company with two partners. And then the government was weaponized against me. I'm sure, I'm not the horror story lately. I'm starting to feel like I'm part of the norm.
Correct, correct. So as we dive in right into who Michael Castillero is and why he has to surrender in September, I wanted to uncover legal procedures and maybe some questions, personal elements of this case. What specific charges did the DOJ bring against you, Michael?
The charges the Department of Justice brought against us were investment advisor fraud, conspiracy to commit investment advisor fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy. I think it was conspiracy to. I've said them so much that my brain scrambled eggs itself, and then 2 counts of obstruction of justice. Mind you, all these charges were irrelevant to the business that we had. They basically classified us as an orange when we're an apple.
The
Um,
views that we express on Biggs Radio Chicago are not those of subsidiaries. They are those of subsidiaries, affiliates, and or sponsors. Go ahead, Michael.
so we were a business that was considered an exempt reporting advisor, and we were filed as such with the Securities and Exchange Commission. An exempt reporting advisor still has to adhere to the rules and make sure you do legal business, but I don't have to because we don't do actual day-to-day trading in the open markets or anything else of that sort. We had to give them like every little thing that we did. As long as we were doing good business and their audits, they came, they asked their questions, and we provided information and everything matched up. That's it. But everything that we gave the government was voluntary.
Mhm.
And being that my partner, Fran, ultra compliant, she's been in financial services for probably 40 years now. She's 62 years old. She's was always ultra compliant. So us, when you have nothing to hide and you're transparent, you give the government everything when they ask, and you don't think twice about it, not knowing that they were because of a change in administration they were using our voluntary information to build the case against us to take our company away.
Mm.
And then in the past week and a half, there's been so many developments that have angered me and made me realize why they did this. Which is
Yeah,
the part.
they.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was it. Go ahead.
So, what was the sentence that was handed down to you?
I have 11 years in jail. And I'm due to surrender on September 10th. I actually received a extra year in jail for doing podcasts like yours. Because and the DOJ prosecutors filed a 13-page document saying that instead of me voicing my First Amendment right, I'm going on podcasts to lie. They said that I've said from day one that I've been politically persecuted for being loyal to the current president, and I was loyal before that. Because the current president, the current president in his first term, his rules and regulations, President Trump, opened the door to giving an opportunity to the regular investor to invest in my product. Hence, my business was a little bit more relaxed to grow. And the minute the Biden administration came in, they found a way to just steal the company from me. And they didn't steal it from me. On top, they stole my business, but they did this in the best interest of my 2,200 investors and clients. And all they've done is siphon their money to put it in their pockets. Till this day, the court-appointed receiver has made north of $30 million. And the clients are getting destroyed financially. And they did this for their best interest.
Can you tell us a little bit about Straight Path? What is Straight Path, and what was the company about?
Straight Path Venture Partners was a pre-IPO fund. We were a private investment fund. So what happens is, I'll use Airbnb because it's the easiest one. Let's say you worked at Airbnb and you've worked there for 10 years. So what happens is companies found a workaround to pay you, not the best salary, but they'll give you shares of the company if the company ever goes public. But you could be at Airbnb for 10 years. So you could go work there at 25. Now you're 35. A lot happens in those 10 years. You meet somebody, you want to get married, you want to buy a house, right? Things happen. And so being that you're still getting paid the same, but you have these millions and millions and millions and hundreds, tens of millions of dollars in these shares, the only way for you to get some liquidity is to sell your private shares to a company like mine. And you can only sell like 10, 20, 30% of what you have. But you need that $2 million because you need to buy a house, and you live in San Fran, which is probably the most expensive city in the country, if it still is. And then I would buy the shares from you, and I would resell them to mom and pop investors, accredited investors, or multiple brokerage firms, boutique firms that didn't have access, because Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and all these big entities used to manipulate these investments for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, Jay Clayton was the first chair of the SEC under President Trump's first term. He said he wanted to give the ability to the regular investor to invest in pre-IPO, multiple news releases out there. So he didn't give my company a seal of approval, but it's almost like he gave my industry a seal of approval, right? If the head of the SEC is saying this, it's the door to making, building a business in this industry is second to none then. So our business grew because a lot of companies were going public under President Trump's first term. They were going public, and we showed every position that went public under our management, under me, Brian, and Fran's management, we showed 2 to 3x returns on every investment. I'm sorry, Lyft was the only investment that was flat for the clients, and they received all their money back.
So the SEC colluded with the Department of Justice and came together and built this case up against you.
Yeah, they're like a mafia. They're like a mafia. They took voluntary information to build the case to first take my company from me. We were about a $400 million fund, give or take. They said we were short $14.6 million. $14.6 million is a lot of money. But it's also the scope of the $400 million fund. It's about 3% of the actual fund. So Securities and Exchange Commission is actually technically, if they think something's off, they're supposed to file a warning shot, give you corrective action. Okay, you have 3 months to fix this. That's what usually happens. We were never short. Till this day, we don't know where we're short, by the way. It's 4 years later. And the government has continuously manipulated the truth to paint this picture of us that is unbelievable, because they destroy your name and then they destroy you.
So in other words, in my opinion, they took your company from you. And what was very interesting to me is the company is still rocking and rolling right now. So if this was a company, of course, that was fraud or overcharging or whatever they charged you with, why is the company still up and running?
Right. When they bring a receiver in, when they put a receivership is to put a company into bankruptcy. Okay. And usually it's to sell the desks, the chairs, the computers, whatever, to try to recoup money for the investors, right? Let me give you one of the craziest things that I read about, that we figured out about a month and a half ago. SpaceX went public recently, right? I know the whole world knows SpaceX went and started trading in the public markets. And we had about $1 million investment, $1 million, $1.5 million in SpaceX. About 6 months before SpaceX went public, the receiver sold the shares. So that $1.5 million or whatever it is, she sold it for about $8 million, give or take, to a undisclosed entity, a top secret entity that to this day is not revealed. The entity has SpaceX. We've asked them to reveal who the entity is. They ignore our request, obviously. But if they, out of that $8 million or 8.5 or whatever it is, she's keeping $7.5 million, let's say, and giving $500,000 back to the clients. She's keeping that for her fees. Okay. We would have never done that, ever. But if she just would have held to the shares, that $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever it was of SpaceX, would probably be worth around $18 to $25 million today. So she actually hosed the clients to pay herself. But it's in the client's best interest to do this. And the judge signs off on it. He doesn't even care. He's drunk on signing it.
Did you accept a plea deal or did you go to trial?
We went to trial. I'm waiting for bond on appeal because we're filing an appeal. So, but the judge, this judge he's been very good at denying everything 5 minutes after he gets it. And it's been about 4 weeks now, and he's still sitting on the bond on appeal.
Why did you make the specific choice to go to trial?
Because we did nothing wrong. We always said that the math would set us free, right? If it's a financial crime, you always, right, whether you do wrong or good, the math will set you free. Guess what the government did right before trial? They blocked the math. We weren't allowed to show what the clients made, that there was no losses in the fund, or anything else of that. The government went and blocked the math about a month before trial. We fought at the pre-trial hearing about it. The judge didn't care. They block. How do you block the math out of a financial crime? That's the evidence, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
smoking gun.
Do you believe the issue lies in the law itself or how it was applied?
I believe. I believe the government's been weaponized against people with beliefs, certain beliefs, and I'm a factor of that. I'm a very big factor of that. Um, in January of 21, we moved to Florida. Listen, I've never been political or donated money, but President Trump's rules under his first term opened the door to my business exploding, right? And doing very well, making people a ton of money. I mean, I can tell you stories of landscapers that put in $30,000 investment that still have north of 800,000 today. That wrote letters in our behalf, and the judge ignored them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. How do you feel like his actions was ignoring the prosecutors that they characterize and have intentions to just ignore everything?
So they were able to bring in, I believe it was 7 clients or 7 impacted clients or family members due to this whole scam that the judge says we ran, because he said we're not a fund, we're a fraud in court in his closing statement. And all 7 of them, first of all, one of them starts off his statement that he received all his shares from us. Right? He's an impacted client. He's an impacted nephew of one of our clients, right? He's impacted. Oh, I received all my shares. But what I don't like is that I get sales calls all the time from other brokerage firms, and that's why I'm here. Somehow that statement is bad against us. That's number one. They bring another lady, and by the way, the government's taking on your taxpayer dollars, they're flying all these people to New York, putting them up in a hotel for 2 or 3 days, and then they tell them what to say. So the lady comes in, she's like, my dad's a doctor, but he's dumb. And when it comes to investing, he's really dumb. But I know he made money on this company and this company, but these two haven't gotten public, have not gone public, and that's my problem with this. So they blocked. So the government blocked us, anybody being able to discuss the court-appointed receiver also. So they want us and the receiver considered basically one, right? So to benefit their case, right? So they blocked the math and they blocked the word court-appointed receiver, receivership. You couldn't say that. So that's how they were able to get those 8 clients that were there. And every single one of them owned something that did not go public yet. And that's why they did that, because they called all our 2,200 customers that made money with us, and they didn't like their response. They called them all. We know they called them all. They didn't like their responses. So what they did is, after they took the company from us, they found a way to create the victims by enriching themselves as well.
Interesting. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We have so many people tuning in and so many comments. Hello to Tyrone. Anthony said, this is interesting stuff. Kimberly Patterson said, good evening. Of course, I have my cousin on deck. Thank you for tuning in. Tracy Janelle said, wow, yeah, we should be able to see those numbers. And shout out to Mr. Success Media. He said, good day, Real Life Topics Podcast. Also, Atlanta is tuning in, Tennessee, down south, and everybody international Germany is even listening. Las Vegas as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Real Life Topics Podcast. It is time to pay the bills.
You don't want to miss it.
Well, there you have it, guys. Make sure you guys check out, of course, September 25th, Morris Day and the Times are going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana. So make sure you guys come on, go on bigsradio.com, check out all the up and coming events for Bigs Radio. Of course, it's your girl Stephanie's Godshout in the building, and I am honored. And definitely, if you guys are just now tuning in, Michael Castillero is in the building, and I'm just going to give you a slight rundown about Michael Castillero. The Department of Justice has sentenced him to 11 years. He has a surrender date of September. And of course, they claim that Michael Castellero's company was basically a fraud company. And of course, and as Michael Castillero said, this is not the truth. He feel like he is a victim of this. And again, Michael, how effectively did your defense attorney represent your interests?
I'm a court-appointed attorney now, because all my money's frozen. So, how did he do? He's a risk mitigator. A nice guy. I like him. He has my best interest at heart. But it's trial was crazy because 11, 12 days, we all left. We won every day. We won every day. And we all left feeling great. Then at the end, when it goes to jury, the judge changes instructions. Just basically charge them as investment advisors. We went there. We fought for 11, 12 days to basically prove that we're not investment advisors. The judge tells them to just, it's like the judge was like John Stockton for the prosecution, just dishing out assists left and right.
So you do feel like the guidelines used in the case were inherently flawed.
They were flawed from day one when they blocked the math. How did you didn't send me into a gunfight with a spork. That's the way I describe it. That's how they sent us. They blocked the truth from coming out. That's why the DOJ has a 97% conviction rate. Because prosecution for the government has full immunity. So that means they can lie to you all they want. They can lie to the jury. They can do whatever they want to win no matter what. But that inherently is giving them a key to deceive everybody, to get their point across, to create a story that doesn't exist.
How has this impacted your family?
My kid goes to school. They call him they tell him his dad's a thief. You know, he goes to school, my son, and he comes up. He doesn't say anything. Um, my daughter, if I step out and I don't come home, she's stressed about me going to jail. She where'd you go? How come you're not home? I think that's starting to. It's giving her a little nervousness. You know what I mean?
Because you did make them aware that, hey, dad might have to go.
Me and my wife did a great job of kind of shielding them. We shielded them till the trial because I had to go to New York for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So, or however long the trial was going to take. So, so we had to tell them at that given moment, and my son kind of knew because he goes, "Yeah, my friends tell me you're a thief and this and that," and he keeps that stuff inside, and so that was a toughie to deal with. You know what I mean? Uh,
So do you think the public has a misconception about you?
oh yeah, the day they took my company from me, they put news releases out that we were a Ponzi like scheme. That's how the SEC took. I don't know what a Ponzi like scheme is. It's either you're a Ponzi scheme or you're not, right? Well, how could you be Ponzi like? So they've been lying since day one. The government. They've been extorting, lying, and stealing from us, and it was all on the Joe Biden's corrupt administration. It gave these prosecutors and judges and everybody else for them to go rogue. And the problem is, it's still to an extent happening because they're already there. They already got free reign, and this country is so big that you can't unfix something that you've had 4 years to destroy in a year and a half or 2 years.
How are you maintaining hope and resilience coming up to this surrender date?
Praying, just pray every day. I ask every day for God. I ask God every day for a miracle, something that'll lead me closer to either a pardon or bond on appeal or the Department of Justice re-examining my case. I've been a pest. I filed tons of complaints and tons of stuff with the government. Um, and if I don't get a reply within 2 or 3 days, I resend it again. I resend it to the point that they have to listen to me and they have to hear me. And eventually the right person is going to open it that actually cares and is going to take the time to go through it. I've been a pest on X, and that's led me places. But I don't think it's me. I think it's honestly, I don't think I'm this strong. I think God's the one pushing me to
Yeah,
get to where I'm at because I would have I would have given up a long time ago.
definitely if it wasn't for God. Shout out to God as well, anyway. I definitely usually shout him out in the beginning of my segment, but of course, God is good and God has the last say so.
Yeah.
So, of course, everything happens for a reason, and God's will is God's will, and it'll be in your favor. As long as you pray to him every day, it'll be in your favor.
Yeah.
What systematic changes in the DOG do you think are necessary based on your experience with this whole deal?
Round up all the judges appointed by Biden and Obama. And I know I'm talking to Chicago, and unfortunately, I know they love him there, but round up, he gave them too much power. They gave them too much power, and now they are, they think they're gods. That's the part. That's how these judges are. They won't give you a fair trial.
Yeah,
They
by the way, I did research on the judge that did sentence you, and he was appointed by Obama. He's also the same judge that Trump is having issues with, have
Correct.
had issues with as well. So that's just, I always like to give people a little history of what's going on. This judge was appointed by Obama, and again, Trump has the same issues with this same thing.
But
Um,
he's only judge of the Southern District in New York because his brother was an economic advisor to President Obama. So he's only there a judge as a favor. So imagine, and he's got carte blanche and he's destroying people's lives, and he's only there because his brother owed him a favor and hooked him up.
mm,
You know,
interesting.
and again, and it was he's blocked deportations from. Think about it this way, right? Let me just explain to you who this judge is. He's claims he's Jewish, so he claims he's religious and Jewish, right? Because on Fridays especially, trial had to end early because he's religious. But the first thing he does, right? And most Jewish people love Israel because that's where their religion comes from. That's the homeland, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a homeland for all religions, but especially the Jewish people. This judge is blocking a deportation that a guy's outside Columbia University screaming death to Israel. And he's a religious Jewish judge blocking. I'm sorry, if I'm a judge and I'm Jewish and somebody's screaming death on my homeland or death to the birthplace of my religion that probably more the Jewish love Israel more than the Catholics and everybody else, right? It's theirs. And they're screaming death to Israel. I'm sorry, I'm not getting involved. I'm not blocking that guy's deportation. This, it was all because he was battling President Trump. Just like at sentencing, his face turned the color of my shirt when he was sentencing me. Because he was like, I don't care about your politics. And he went unhinged. I heard that Trump derangement syndrome, that TDS that people talk about. Mm-hmm. I saw it firsthand from him.
Right before you got sentenced, did you get an opportunity to say something?
Yeah, I chose not to. I've said enough on podcasts.
Okay. So you chose not. If the judge was watching right now, would you choose to say something to him?
I don't think he likes me too much right now. He tried to, so I almost became the first person. I think this is what I've been told. I haven't researched it. I almost became the first person, according to what I've been told, to have their pardon application put part of a public docket. Because the Office of the Pardon Attorney sent a letter to the judge. Usually it's protocol. They said, I'm a pardon that warrants merit. So they basically have looked at my case and they're saying that they believe what's happened to me has been unjust, right? And the judge replied that he wanted to put the pardon application in the public docket. So now, about 4 days later, the Southern District of New York, the deputies who were appointed by the current administration or appointed by the Attorney General, lead attorney of the Southern District of New York is appointed, and he appoints them probably from the same administration or however it works. I don't know. Right. So an opinion siding with the Office of the Pardon Attorney. So now the Southern District of New York wants to put me in jail for 11 years, but the bosses at the Southern District of New York are taking my back on my pardon application, saying that they don't believe it should be released. This judge wrote a nasty, 3-sentence thing. Well, I'm just going to open it up to the public to see if it is really up to the public to make this decision. And he's being petty. So my lawyer then says, he goes, listen, this could be the best thing that happened. The judge is going a little unhinged. He's fighting government. Let the government entities duke it out for this. It's better for your pardon to have him fight with the pardon office. He's putting it on paper. So A week passed, nobody wrote about me because I'm not famous or important enough to write about. So he had to eat his words, and the pardon application stayed sealed. But within that time, that Friday before that Monday before he wrote that statement, the New York Times piece came out about which wasn't a good piece, but it wasn't a bad piece. So I'm getting press while he was hoping that somebody said it, right? So because like I met you because you were on you were watching Terry Newsom's show the other like a couple weeks ago, right? And that's how we started chatting. So Terry said to me, he goes, Mike, should I write an opinion saying that we think and I go, let me check with my lawyer. So my lawyer's like, 50 people could write a letter in your favor about the pardon application staying sealed. But if the 51st person writes an opinion that he believes it should be open, he's going to disregard the other 50 opinions and side with that one opinion. So I was like, all right. He goes, if I was you, yeah. So I chose to leave it alone just for that reason. But Terry had a problem with this judge, actually. He put some memes out about him, and he wrote this big opinion, the judge, about Terry, what Terry did. And then I think Terry responded back to the opinion in public, and then it just died there. But I think the reason why I got that extra is because he doesn't like how he gets depicted to the people, maybe.
So you don't have anything that you want to say to him?
I mean, he's already done all the damage. I don't think he's a good guy. And honestly, after this is all over, I'm just going to spend the rest of my life to repay him the favor. I'm going to repay him the favor one way or another. Like, fight with the law. Mm-hmm. I'm going to study the law in and out to make sure that I find the angle one day or another. God will lead me to repay the favor. I mean, again, but then man of God is not have revenge, right? So it's like no, I don't even think I'd want to do that. He'll have to deal with his doings at a later time.
And like you said, you feel like that this was unjust, and if you can be a part of someone else that might be a victim of these same circumstances to change this, because of course you're not the only victim. Could you compare anyone else's situation to yours that the DOJ might have done this to as well?
Yeah, I have 11 competitors that they did this to, or in the process of doing it to, right? So, and they're still doing it. But I'm going to give you some crazy facts that have come out, I think, from August 10th to today. And these are the things that kind of like burn me inside a little bit that have been happening. There was another fund called ADIT Ventures. Same business model, pre-IPO. We actually did business with them. We bought shares from them. We were named in transactions with them and so on. They just settled with the government for basically a slap on the wrist just to make it go away. The CEO, mind you, I got an extra year for saying that this was politically motivated against me. The CEO of ADIT Ventures, you know what he said on a news release? This was a Biden motivated political hit job, or something of that sort. He's good. He can't work. He can't work for 3 years, but then he could go back to doing whatever he's doing. They didn't take his company from him. They didn't do anything of that sort. So, double-edged sword, right? On what they did to them versus what they did to us. And I don't believe anything I read anymore, but they said that they used $10 million from company money for personal business credit lines for themselves to live. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's something that we wouldn't even entertain. If they did that and that's documented, it's definitely not documented that we did that. You know, and then just yesterday or the day before, Bill Ackman's a billionaire investor. Bill Ackman comes out with a news statement that he's opening a pre-IPO fund. Bill Ackman is from the good old boys club, the big boy billionaire club, right? My partner Fran looked at his filings, same as ours. She looked at his mission statement, same as ours. How is 4 years later a billionaire allowed to open the same exact fund that we got destroyed for? That's exactly the plan. The plan was to crush the little guy so these big boys could manipulate it and control it.
I was something else I was also checking out too as well. They mentioned maybe if you come up with 75 million, they'll make it all go away. So it was kind of about money and finance.
That was the extortion, right? Give us 75 million in your company. That's kind of how it was. That was like the day before they took our business from us. And the only reason we wound up down a criminal trial, by the way, it's because the SEC spoke to the Southern District of New York about us, and our lawyer found out, and we asked for the communication. And they said, if you ask for the communication again, we're going to charge. So they basically worked as a mafia to shake us down, basically say, we don't need to tell you what they talk about. And if you ask us again, we're gonna take you outside and straighten you out. And that's what they're trying to do, right? They basically charge us for asking for legal communication. It's called discovery. So we could communicate, so our lawyers could prepare us. And that's what they used as an opportunity to not only that, because they went down a road where they couldn't find anything wrong. And within days or hours of a grand jury subpoena expiring, it died. And that's why they chose to charge. They chose to charge us almost a year and a half after they took our business from us. And it's only because they had to charge because they've wasted time. That's the way my lawyer at the time said. He goes, they've wasted so much time and found nothing that they're going to charge you because they've wasted the time doing it.
How long was the trial?
11 days.
What do you want this ultimate legacy of your case to be?
I honestly want the legacy of my case. I don't know what I want it to be, but I know that on the other side of this, I want to spend the rest of my life to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else ever again. That's who I want to be going forward. And to stay quiet, it means you're accepting it. And to lay down and wait for the time to pass that you have to go to jail, I'm not going to do that because then they'll take my house and my wife and kids will be in the street. I'll be okay. I'll be in jail. I'll have a roof over my head. I'll have 3 meals a day, right? I'll be in there worried about where they're sleeping at night because we have nobody else. My mother-in-law we have, but you know, same thing. I bought her home. So they want her home too. So it's either fight or lay down, and I'm not going to lay down. And I have to push and push and push.
So the legal avenues that you did file for an appeal, correct? And you also did pardon. You sent pardon papers to Trump.
Yes, I filed for a pardon. I actually filed it for last July. But then I was blessed to meet actually the only lawyer in this trek that I feel that cares, or one
Hmm.
of the few. And he's been an angel. He's a good man. His name's Peter Tickton. God bless him. And he's all about. He knows what the government weaponization has been like, and he's fighting for a lot of people out there. He's a good man.
If Trump was watching right now, what would you want to say to him?
Mr. President, the same judges and same building that came after you are destroying me and my life. The only difference is that they all know you, sir, and nobody knows who I am. And that's the only reason why this is still happening. The only reason why. And Judge Kaplan, who unjustly uh, said you raped E. Jean Carroll and all that bunch of lies, and Judge Furman, who's fought you on the census and block deportations, are doing it to not just me, but a ton of other supporters of yours. Because in my industry, they cherry pick your supporters, President Trump. And that's the part. All my competitors were very vocal Trump supporters. I might have been the most vocal. I was going to Mar-a-Lago regularly and things like that for dinner, but I was the most vocal, as you could see behind me. But we need you. We need you to really walk into that, put the clamps on Southern District in New York, because they're still running rogue, and that means they're not respecting you, sir. And you're losing a lot of voters for the midterms because we just can't vote.
Hmm. Hmm. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Start this business sooner. The business that I had sooner. That's a tough question, right, Stephanie? Because I've had this conversation with my wife a lot, that what are the mistakes over the past couple of years, and I said, I go, the biggest mistake that led us to this was becoming a Trump Country Club member, right? And going there and posting social media about it and everything else. And I tell her, I go, yeah, listen, it's who I am. I wouldn't never change it. I'm not going to change myself now from what I could be, right? I mean, younger self. I mean, who knows? Buy Apple in 1995 before the iPhone came out, I guess. I don't know. That's a toughie.
What would you tell your younger self? It's something that you wish you would have told your younger self, Michael Castillero. What would you have told him?
Listen more. Just listen more.
Listen more.
Listen more.
Take heed.
Yeah. Just listen
Take heed.
more.
So I always like to end the segment with a food for thought for the audience and for people that are listening. Of course, my food for thought for today is discernment. Let's brush up on our discernment skills, guys. That's Stephanie's God's Child's food for thought. Michael Castillero, what is your food for thought for today?
I like discernment, because you had me when you started saying that. That's the word that popped in my head right away.
Discernment.
You had me at discernment. You had me. You beat me to it. Yeah, I have to agree. I have to concur with you. Discernment is the way. is I agree with that because you got me. You got me good today. You got me
Yes,
emotional.
I got you good today. I'm diving deep in. I'm diving deep
Yeah,
in
you
this
got
real
me
life
good.
topic.
You got me very good today. I'm usually a little sharper, but you got me good. Just be who you are. I always be who you are. Be who you are morally, ethically, and everything. It doesn't matter what people think of you down here. It's up there is the ultimate judge and jury, and I think that's the reason why I could sleep at night, right? Because no matter, I don't give two craps what the people think about me. What hurts is how they what they say to my kids and say to my wife. Because at the end of the day, it's the ultimate judge, jury, and everything is the man upstairs. The good Lord is so I know, and I think that's what keeps my wife and kids knowing that, understanding, because they know that I was busting my ass to build a massive business. What would I would tell my younger self? There you go, more balance of family and more balance with between family and work life. That's what I would tell my younger self, actually, because when I was building this company, I was absent a lot, 13, 12, 13, 14 hours a day building it, and then the government took it, and it's been a struggle ever since. So yeah, so I would say, who cares what people think about you? Who cares what people post about you and everything else? And my food for thought is, be who you are, always be who you are, and never be embarrassed or ashamed, and always hold your head up high. I could tell you that because I've been lower than dirt these past 4 years. I've been in dark places mentally, and I would tell you to always be who you are.
For sure, for sure. Well, there you have it, guys. Michael Castillero has landed on Real Life Topics podcast. Of course, we had a message for Trump, a message, food for thought messages. I also wanted to send prayers out to Michael and his family. Of course, if you are tuning in, and if you're not, it's just a rebrush up that Michael does have to surrender himself September 10th. He has a whole family that he will not be leaving behind, because I'm going to speak into existence that the pardon paperwork and the appeal is going to work for Michael Castillero, of course. So I'm speaking that into existence. But the Department of Justice and court systems, in generally speaking, it doesn't look at the behind the scenes factors of things when it comes to family. Michael has to leave his family behind and his children. So I want to send out prayers to you, Michael, and everyone out there that is watching, to just be aware of what is going on, and how the Department of Justice and or court systems, in generally speaking, affect more than just the person that they're prosecuting. We have children that are potentially might not see their father for another 10 years, well, at least behind a piece of glass or something. So this is something that is of importance to me. I want to thank you, Michael, for telling your story, making people aware, and please don't stop advocating for victims that might be as such as yourself, from the Department of Justice. Prayers are going out to you and your family. Stay strong. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Life Topics podcast. Of course, we had our food for thoughts. And Michael Castillero, how could the audience tune in to you or just check out your story, in generally speaking?
You could find me, Michael Castillero, on Facebook. You could I'm really active on X, which is at Mike C0921. You can find me as under Michael Castillero on Instagram as well. Uh, I'm always active. I got nothing else but time, so till September 10th. So, but hopefully, somebody that could truly, truly get this to the president that is listening tonight, and or hopefully he's listening it. Watch it, having a Diet Coke in the Oval Office.
Yes, for sure. Shout out to Donald Trump as well. And shout out to everybody that is tuning in. There's so many of you guys tuning in. Thank you so much, Michael, for tuning in to the show. Till next time, it's Real Life Topics Podcast.
Your provision to victory.
Make sure you guys tune in next Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time with exclusive interviews and exclusive topic discussions. It's your favorite host, Stephanie's Godchild. Have a good evening. See you next week, guys. Okay, I am off air so I can get a little bit better with what I got going on. But yes, thank you, Michael. Let's end this.